And welcome back, I'm Totalxclipse, and this is my guided playthrough series where I am playing Satisfactory from start to finish and sharing exactly how I do everything, including various tips and tricks to hopefully cover any problems that you may encounter if you've just picked up this game or you're working your way through it. Now, in the last episode, I showed off my process when decorating factories and made the save available to you all for free so that you can run around the save or use it yourselves. And today we have quite a big episode ahead of us, as our plan is to unlock the next space elevator tier. This will require adaptive control units, versatile framework, and modular engines. So let's quickly go through the timestamp so you can jump ahead if you wish, and then we'll get started. Firstly, we're going to be covering versatile framework, followed by my preferred factory setup for space elevator parts, producing the modular engines. And then we're going to look at adaptive control units. This does unfortunately mean that we will have to upgrade our plastic and rubber setup, and as a side effect, we'll also increase our power generation. I mean, it's not a bad thing, really. And we'll then follow that up by expanding our heavy modular frame production and reworking the train system slightly to allow for production. And then finally, we will be sending off the space elevator tier, unlocking a whole lot more to play about with in the upcoming episodes. So, let's get started. Now, the first thing that we need to do is work out where we're going to be placing our space elevator, because it takes up a fair bit of room and we want it to work with the build. And I think possibly over here would be best. We can have it slightly lower than our train stations. So let's lift it up above the resources. And this will allow us to see exactly how many of each resource we need. And from here we can place this. It'd be nice if we could just come down from the train station, actually. So for this, we have to get 2,500 versatile framework, 500 modular engines, and 100 adaptive control units. And these two items, if you want to automate them, can be a little bit of work. It's really where the game starts pushing you towards the automation aspect. So let's just quickly add a little walkway up. Maybe we should go with the ramp. Obviously meant to be. So we're just gonna nudge that inside. I don't mind having the railings clip into one another a little bit. Now, the important thing to bear in mind is when it comes to the versatile framework, if you remember rightly, we've already done this before, as we needed it for the second phase of the space elevator tier. So we're actually already producing this, which makes our life really easy. Though we're not exporting the resources to our base, we did, if I remember rightly, set up a storage unit. And I think it's this one, because I said we didn't need it connected to the dimensional depot. And there you go, we already have, what's that, 50, 100, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 2,400 versatile framework. So I'm going to just go ahead really quickly and get rid of all of this stuff that I don't need for the time being. And we're just going to grab all of these and run them over to the space elevator. And then I'll come back and grab the rest. And I should mention, though we absolutely could use the inputs for the space elevator, it's kind of null and void. Unless they force us to use these, it's just so much easier to just go up to the space elevator and then control click. So if you are automating them, you can run them into the space elevator conveyor inputs. If not, just drop them in. And like that, we've done pretty much all of the versatile framework. Nice and easy. We're just going to wait for I should have put a dimensional depot. It would save me going back over there. Anyway, the next thing that we need to work on is the modular engines. And for this, I'm going to show you what I do in my playthroughs. And the thing is, with space elevator parts, you're only going to use them to unlock the next elevator tier. You're not going to use them in a production chain. Where did I place that? Seems like a bit of a faux pas from me. But you're not going to use them in your production chains. So the easiest thing to do, in my opinion, is if you're producing the resources that you need, would be to just place down the production machine. And so what we're going to do here is set our manufacturer to Modular Engines. We're going to grab some storage units. You don't need many. And then these are going to run straight into the manufacturer. Now we'll just connect those up. Wonderful. And then for this, we need smart plating, which we're already producing at this facility, actually. We have rubber as well, which is just across from us. So we could, in theory, just grab those resources and put them onto here. But all I'm going to do is grab the smart plating and the rubber from our dimensional storage and place it directly into here. And so this is going to start running and producing those engines for us. And then we just need to store them somewhere. Of course, we won't be able to do it here. That would be too tight. So we're going to have to take them up. And you absolutely could connect them to the dimensional depot if you wanted to. There's not really that much point because it's just across from us, the space elevator. One thing that we might want to do is overclock. Or if you have the summer sloop available, which we don't, you could summer sloop it to double the output per minute. So we're going to let that run. In fact, I'm going to just run to the storage units and grab all those resources that we need. There's your motors. And this should produce more than enough for us. Let's just make sure that it's fast enough. Lines, yeah. I've just realized we said we were going to do oscillators in this video. We won't do. But what I will do is place a note. If I go to my inventory and put my cursor over to the right, we can set up some public notes or private notes. Public notes, if you're playing multiplayer, anyone can see. Private notes are just for yourself. And I'm just going to put prep oscillators, and we'll do that in the next episode. I'll probably still forget it's there. And here we are with the first modular engine. So now that that's running, we can start looking at the next part of the facility that we need to work on. And then we'll come back to this later and move all of the resources over to the space elevator. With the versatile framework pretty much ready to go and the modular engines being produced so that we can send them to the space elevator once done, we're now ready to get started on the next piece, which is the adaptive control units. And this is going to be a little bit more work for us. For this, we need heavy modular frames, automated wiring, computers, and circuit boards. For a single adaptive control unit, we only need one heavy modular frame per minute, which is what we're producing here. The problem is that we won't have any excess going elsewhere. Thankfully, some of you reminded me that we set up this big factory producing modular frames with the aim of turning it to a heavy modular frame factory. And though we're not going to do that, what I am going to do is siphon off some of these so that we can use them for heavy modular frames. I also noticed while we were collecting the versatile framework that we're also producing the automated wiring in this facility as well. So when we go to get the last 100 frames of versatile framework, I will also grab all of the automated wiring and we'll use that in this setup. And that means we're only going to need two other resources, which is circuit boards and computers. We're already producing enough computers, so we could just take them from this line and split it in half. We need 2 per minute, and this is producing 5 if I remember correctly. But we are going to have to grab some plastic, and we're actually going to need to turn that into circuit boards by combining it with copper. So in order to up our production, we will maximize the oil node that's providing for this section and pretty much double it. In fact, I think it's 150% increase on what we have currently. And that will also mean we have a comfortable amount of excess fuel that we can use to further increase the stability of our build. Which reminds me, we actually need to work on battery storage at some point as well. So I'll quickly add that to the list of things to do. So let's get started with the heavy modular frames. Now, before we start grabbing all of these lovely frames for our facility, we need to produce the resources that we need for it, which just so happens to be the screws, steel pipes, and encased industrial beams, the same recipe that we are using here. And the good news about that is the basic steel setup that we already have over here, the very first one that we set up, provides enough steel for the encased industrial beams and steel pipes. So we already have that section set up. We just need to combine it with concrete, with the limestone that we need just being a hair's breadth away, and to take any excess iron ore that we have and turn that into screws. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to do is just make sure that we are producing enough. We need 20 steel pipes per minute, and we also need 15 steel beams for the concrete. And we're producing these at 100% clock speed, so that is all good. Better yet, all I need to do here is to place an assembler on the end, and then we're going to have to run the concrete along to here. So we do need to produce the concrete. I'm just going to place these temporarily, or move them after. We're going to expand on this section, so we need enough room for the screws and the concrete, and then also one manufacturer which will actually fit nicely into here, I think. So let's just really quickly lay out a bit of space, tear these down, and then produce our concrete. Now we need 30 concrete per minute, so we will need 2 of these, and that's going to be 90 limestone per minute. And if I remember rightly, that particular limestone node is actually a pure node, which will make life so much easier for us. I think our best bet will just be to run that all the way. Oh, we haven't done packaged fuel. That's the other thing that we need to do. Okay, so let's add that to the list as well. Now, it looks like this is built on the world grid, which makes our life slightly easier, because we can just run that straight across and we'll know it's in a straight line. Let's make sure that we have enough belt capacity, so Mark II, for that 90 limestone. And then I'm going to just place the extractor or the miner and grab the resources. So I'll do that really quickly. Thinking about it, it would actually be better to run the limestone alongside this coal miner here. You can see how that runs across to there. We can place a little elevator and take the resources up and bring it along to there. And it saves us stretching a conveyor across this section. So it'll just make it look that little bit cleaner. One thing that we can talk about just briefly is the alignment of the miners to the grid. I don't know if we've covered this yet, so it's worth mentioning anyway. But when you grab your miner and you place it down, often you'll find that it's not aligned to the grid. It's not supposed to be aligned to the grid. When we're placing it, this is what I mean. It's off from the center, which annoys a lot of people. And though there's a way that you can do this, we can just grab a road barrier, hold control and place it on the front section here. And then from here, you can snap your foundation to it. You can nudge it so that the center is aligned with the barrier. Delete the barrier, and then when you place this, it is straight. The problem is that this is now off the world grid, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just another thing that annoys people. You still have to get back onto it if you're using the world grid. But since 1.1, they have released a very useful build mode. So as you can see here, we're off ever so slightly. But if we turn onto the grid, you'll see how we're kind of curving into the position. That's not great for us in this build style. But if we use the straight build mode, it creates a right angle at the edge. And so this allows us to create quite a nice corner that aligns with the world grid. The only problem is you do have to bear in mind that now we've got a ramp down. It'd be easier if this was slightly lower. But here, what we could do if we really wanted to hide this gap is grab a painted beam and we'll place it here, just in the center output. And then we're going to, in freeform mode, run it roughly where it gets to the normal height from the floor. The only problem with this is, with this being off grid, you're going to find that when we run this, that you may have it popping out on the outer side, which perhaps you may not like. Anyway, we're now going to take this down. Let's run this round to here. I'm going to set this to 90 per minute. And then we'll run that down to where it needs to be. And would you look at that? One of the build pieces that we did in the last episode actually works really well as just a general support. In fact, let's delete that. Let's place it from the top, and then we'll place another one below it. So you can see how we use the build pieces that we developed in the last one, the kind of custom design pieces for our facility, how you can implement them into your save in various parts so that it makes it look more reminiscent of the theme. You can build a theme around your save if you want to. And here we're just going to nudge it to where we think is the right position. It looks like it's on the edge, so let's go with that. To get these aligned, what you can do is temporarily run a foundation across so that you know the position. You can see we're slightly off. And we'll run it in default mode. Don't run it in straight mode, as you'll notice that from straight mode after a corner, if you're doing it on a straight patch, it's ever so slightly off. You see how it's bending just a touch? That's a bug. So whilst we wait, make sure that it's in default mode, and I like to do a little turn left right with the mouse wheel to ensure that it's back on its straight axis. And then from here we're going to make sure that they're in the right position, run that, and then we can get rid of this. There we go, straight conveyor all the way across where we need it. Now we're going to do the same as this section. We're going to run this to the edge, run this up, and then from here we're going to run it across to there. There we go, and that is prepped. So let's power this up and make sure that the concrete is merging onto the assembler, like so. That needs to be connected to a power line. In fact, all of these do. And now that's ready to go. So the next thing that we need to do are screws. Now for the screws, we're going to need 40, 80, 120. And for this, we're going to need a total of 30 rods, which is 2 of these. So it would be better for us to place these over here. Don't worry, I will show you this build from above afterwards so that you can see the overall design. But it's just a really simple one. We're going to merge and then split. All right, we just need to bring the iron in and connect these up to a manufacturer. We can run the manufacturer along in this spot here. There we go. We've got our screws, our encased industrial beams, and then we will also have now our steel pipes from here. Then what else do we need? Oh, modular frames. Oh, balls, modular frames. They're going to come from probably this side. So actually we need to scoot this all over. Do it like that. There we go, that, and then we'll have our modular frames coming in from this section. Okay, so here we have the actual layout for our heavy modular frame. So we will have the modular frames come out on the right hand side. If you can see, there's a little line that's going all the way around, so we're going to grab them in a minute. We'll then have excess iron, which I need to add to this line, being split off at the bottom of the elevator and then sent to a single smelter, which is going to produce those iron rods. Then those 2 constructors producing the iron rods send it off to the screw line where they will be produced between 3 constructors. We then have the limestone coming across and heading into 2 constructors, producing the 30 concrete that we need per minute, which is then combined with the steel beams that we're already producing in an assembler to produce the encased industrial beams. And then we have the steel pipes, which are being produced along the steel foundry there, heading up to the heavy modular frame manufacturer, where we're producing 1 heavy modular frame per minute. It's not a lot, but it's enough for this following build. In order for us to get the right amount of iron that we need, I'm actually just going to increase that to a Mark 3, and we only need, is it 30? Yeah, 30 iron per minute, which I think is actually perfect, because if we run up here, there is most definitely a miner, which I don't think we're fully utilizing. In fact, I think it's a Mark 1 miner. Yeah, so this isn't overclocked. It's producing 90 per minute. Wait, we needed 90 on the other line. So, wait, why was that line backed up? It shouldn't have been. So we need 120, which works out perfectly because we can just up that number, and then it will eventually back up from the screw section into the steel facility. So providing we upgrade our lines here, that's not going to be an issue at all. And the other thing that we need to do is to bring the modular frames across to here. So I think what we'll do, instead of just upgrading this line, is we will turn this section into the modular frames, and then we'll bring the iron up across here. So all I'm going to do here is remove this section, and then we merge that back onto the old section. And so now that the iron's done, we can do the modular frames. Okay, so let's place our conveyor hole there, and then we're just going to drop down. Hopefully we've got this in the right position. From here, run it all the way up. And remember the trick which we mentioned, the furthest you can get with a lift is 48 resources being used. But if you place a floor hole and then aim at the floor hole, you can actually get it higher. So we're going to bring that down from there and run that directly into there. Perfect. So now we just need to clean that bit up so that it works with the theme, and then bring the modular frames across. So it's come to splitting off these. Now, if I was really lazy, I could just add a splitter here and run it across. We only need 5 modular frames per minute, and if we just very quickly count these, we can see we have 10 of these running, each one producing 2, so that's 20 per minute. We only need 1/4 of these. So we're just going to do a little balancer. Yeah, it'll be nice and easy. So to split from 1 to 4, all we need to do is place a splitter and then run this to here. Now we know that we've got 10 going off in this direction and 10 going off in this direction. So let's just place 1 more of these. That leaves us with a 5/5 split. And then we'll grab a merger, place it there. And we're going to run the 10 from this output and the 5 from that output back onto this line. More importantly, we have our 5 that we wanted. With that done, we can run this all the way around to here. We'll run this across to the end. And then from here, you can see we've got our belt. Just gonna YOLO it and hope for the best that that is the right position. Around that. Hey, actually that was perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. So we can now remove this. We've got our 5 modular frames running across to here. I'm going to delete the support underneath that, and I will also get rid of that cactus. Right, so our heavy modular frames are being produced, which leaves us with the plastic and the computers. So let's head over there for now. Believe it or not, at the moment we are producing enough plastic and enough computers to get the next part of the build done without needing to expand on this at all. However, we won't be able to use the plastic for anything else. We'll only be producing a couple per minute, and I like using plastic for these shiny foundations that you see me place every now and then. As such, using the new Mark II pipes that we unlocked, I think in the last episode or the time before that, we are going to overclock this oil extractor. And with it only running at 240, we can actually not only double this, but we can increase it by a further 120. So it's a 150% increase. In fact, I can do that now. And we can use that whole 600 oil per minute to greatly increase this build. So what I will now do is tear down the fuel generators if we have space. We'll upgrade all the pipes, and then from there I'm going to expand on the layout that we already have. All right, well, no time like the present. So that is that out of the way. I'm going to clear the rest of this, and then we need to work out what we're going to do here. So basically with this line, we just need to, not even double it up, we need to do a little bit more than that. So let's grab our Mark II pipeline. Oh, actually, I should have checked that we have power. Production's here, consumption. Yeah, okay, so we're fine for now. And we also have battery power available should we need, just to help us through. But we've now got the capacity in these pipes for a 600 crude oil. So let's run this all the way back, make sure everything is upgraded. And then we're going to have to get rid of these. And what I will do, we have all of our heavy oil residue here. Actually, let's just check our heavy oil residue. It's 20 per minute for rubber, 10 for heavy oil residue. So we're going to have 10 of these for plastic, and then we'll have 10 of these for rubber. And off the top of my head, I think it's 5 that we will have for the heavy oil residue to fuel. Could be mistaken there. All right. I'm going to set up all of these. In fact, it shouldn't be too difficult here. Just turn that so it's facing down the line. Connect these up. Oh dear. Oh shoot. Nope. No. Oh, stopped it. Right. Make sure that you get rid of any mixed belts. So I've just set up the refineries here. We have the first 10 for plastic, the second 10 for rubber. We've still got a few things to do, and then we have our 5 for the fuel production. One thing that I forgot to mention, and really important, if you are upgrading to Mark II lines like this, do not have Mark I lines connected to it. Have all of your lines Mark II. The reason for this is there is a bug in the game, and several times people have mentioned that for some reason you're not getting the full throughput of the liquids in the pipes, and upgrading, or in several cases actually redoing all the pipes as Mark II, actually deleting them and redoing them, has turned out to be the solution to the issue. Do not try and throttle your pipes with Mark Is. Do it with valves if you absolutely have to. Anyway, I am now going to finish these 4. I need to wait for my copper sheets. Go on, one more. There we go. Right, another 24 of them. So whilst I wait for that, I'm going to get started on the new generators. And because we're producing, or will be producing, 200 fuel per minute, that translates to, if I remember rightly, 10 of the copper sheets. If I remember rightly, they require 20 copper sheets. Got copper sheets on the brain now. 20 fuel per minute. Though I did actually need 20 copper sheets. The irony. In order to run per minute 20 fuel. So from 200 we'll be able to place 10 of these, which means we'll have a nice addition to our power generators. Anyway, I'm going to wait for the copper sheets to fill up, and then I will do that really quickly, and then I'm just going to replace the old system that we had before, and we'll go from there. Wonderful, so that is now set up. We're still waiting for some of the refineries to fill up with oil so that they can run, but apart from that, this is all running. And as for the fuel generators, you can see that we have a nice little increase to that. So our capacity, well, production at the moment is just under 7.5 gigawatts, which should be more than enough to get us a little bit further into the game. And with the added plastic and rubber, we can start exporting this back to our base. Well, we currently are, but we're going to do something a little bit different with that so that we can turn it into circuit boards and get producing the adaptive control units. So the plan at this point is to add another train station to this facility, and then from there we're going to grab the extra copper from one of these two because they're not overclocked, which means we've got plenty of space for extra copper. And from that copper we'll produce the copper sheets, combine that with the plastic for circuit boards, and then we'll take the computers that we have in excess of, the circuit boards, the heavy modular frames, which actually we need to work out how we're going to bring over here, and then finally combine that with the automated wiring that we already have to set up the adaptive control units. So I guess I should get started. Actually, thinking about it, we could just take the resources from the station. It'll require a little bit of rejiggling because I think we've got the computers and the plastic on the second and third line. We might be able to see now. Well, the plastic's on the third line, yeah, and the computers are on the second line. Wait a second. Wait, isn't the first line heavy modular frames? Hang on. It must be, right? So we have the plastic, which is struggling now that we've got so many being produced to get through. The second one is the computers. This one, I totally forgot we did this, is either, was it motors and, yeah, so motors go on the left output and modular frames, heavy modular frames, go out this, yeah. Oh, wonderful. So yeah. Totally unplanned, but we have everything that we need here. So if I remove this, hopefully it'll give me a death crate, not a death crate, dismantle crate with the resources, and we will find a way to grab all these resources and then we'll build the facility. Hang on. Don't tell me I've just lost all of my frames. Come on. Oh, well, that's a relief. So the frames, the resources stay in here, so we'll just leave that. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, grab the excess copper, and then I think we might actually be able to just bring it through one of these. Oh, you know what? This works so much better than I anticipated. Okay, so I'm going to grab some of this copper. We'll split it off. I don't know how much we need, but we'll add a smart splitter, that should be 90. We'll run this all the way along the side and take it around to the other side. And like that, we have our copper running all the way under here. We've given it a bit of support from a pillar. You can see that's making its way all the way around, under here and around to just this section here. So it should be popping around any moment. And what we're going to do with this is smelt it first and foremost, and then we're going to make sure that we're producing enough when it comes of the copper sheets. I think we need about 28 or something like that. There we go. So let's bring that up into this section. I don't know how many of these that we're going to need. So let's just start off with 2. Then I'm going to place a splitter. I don't know if this will work. We might have to rework it. If we grab ourselves a splitter, oh, it does. Wonderful. So we've done an extra compact splitter there. So that will lead us to producing, got 90. So in theory, we could get a third one out. Don't know if we need it though. So let's have a look at our constructors. We need 26 of these. So we're going to need and it's 2 copper ingots to 1, so we need 52 copper ingots for this. Let's set these to 26 and we'll just run 2 smelters. And then I think we can overclock these so that they're using 13. I will copy that. I'm going to push this over so that they each have their own dedicated line. And then we're just going to run these straight into their dedicated constructors. And before I get ahead, we do need to turn them into circuit boards. So we can overclock this one, 13 per minute. So how many we need? It's not. I have screwed myself over. We only need 5. I thought we were doing the computers as well. Right, okay, so we only need 5 per minute. Let's remove this one. Let's remove that. We're just going to feed it directly in. Okay, from here we'll set up our assembler. We only need to produce 5 for this. So from here we'll just underclock that. We need 10 copper sheets per minute. Just so happens to be 1 whole constructor, and then we're gonna, there's like 20 of these. Okay, well that was much easier. We just need to get our plastic now. So for that we need to make sure that we're taking our heavy modular, actually we could bring the heavy modular frame up this section. That would give us plenty of room to have the line go back if we would like to storage. So one can go up here and the other one will reconnect at some point with that line. With the computers we want to do a similar system, so actually rather than do that, let's do it the other way around. Overflow on the left hand side. We'll just bring this up and over itself, and then the computers can bring along to here and do the same thing. Run that in default mode, and so here we have the computers, we have the heavy modular frames and our circuit boards. Well, let's do the same system that we had, except I'm going to shove this over ever so slightly, and the reason for that is I want a little bit of space for the smart splitter so that we have room to send the resources back off, and we'll grab that. And for this one we're going to flip it about. We're going to do the overflow forwards and then the undefined, the plastic, up in this direction. I think I've made this bit of a pig's ear out of this, if I'm honest. It doesn't look particularly nice, but I will endeavor to beautify it outside of the video. Okay, that will be for the computers along here, and the heavy modular frames along here. And then we have our plastic sorted. We'll need to power these. The next thing that we need to do, actually, I was going to say we need to work out how to bring these resources across. What we can do is place the plastic lower and then bring that up. And then we can take these and run them straight across. And we'll do the same with our computers. And that gives us all 3 of the resources that we need here, with the exception of automated wiring, which will be placed here. So from this point, we're going to grab manufacturer, place it there. I'm not sure how much we need of that. 5 per minute. So a tier 1 belt will do. And we've got our 5 circuit boards, our 1 heavy modular frame, and finally our computers. And then we can send all that across, if we're lucky, make sure this is on the platform, to our space elevator, which just so happens to be just aligned to our train station. That turned out much better than I anticipated. We'll just run that in there. So you can automate or semi-automate these resources. I don't think it's necessary, honestly, but regardless, you can do if you want to. Next, I need to power all of this. There we go. Yeah, wonderful. So we now have our copper sheets being, well, copper being smelted into copper sheets, then sent to the assembler to become the circuit boards. We don't we do have some, wait. Yeah, we have some heavy modular frames heading in there, which should be enough for now. I'm going to beautify this in a moment, but the next thing that I want to do, other than fill this with the wire, automated wire, in fact, I'll go grab that now. I also need these. You can see we've got a couple of hundred left over. And then let's grab all of those that we can. I'm gonna just make some more space. We only need 100 if I remember rightly, and that means we only need, I think, 500 of these in order to produce them, and we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That should be more than enough. So let's head back, and now we can get this running. So there is that. We've got our circuit boards going in, so fingers crossed that this will start producing those automated adaptive control units. Goodness me. Let's just see that turn on. There we go. And before I forget, put in those. So that's done. Modular engines, how are we doing? I didn't connect them to... Okay, I'm going to go get them now. And if we go up here, not quite enough. What's that? 326. So I'll place them in there for now, and then whilst we wait for this to run and produce those 100 adaptive control units, it's actually a really small build, thanks to us siphoning all those resources off. But what I will do first and foremost is to get those heavy modular frames back to this facility. And what we can do, because the heavy modular frame freight is the first one, we could have a second train feed just that station and continue running around the facility. So I think I'll do that. Hopefully it won't take me too much time. And then I'll build a little shell around this, and then I'll show you how it looks. I won't show you me building it because I tend to take quite a bit of time on this, but it's just going to be a shell build. Right, I'll get to it. So the train line is, I've placed my first blueprint out, and I'm going to bring it around in front of the facility. So we are going to have to do some kind of stairwell over this, and I will remove, we can leave that there. It's actually works out okay because we've got the bus underneath. We just need to work out a way to get over this. And then I will continue this around. And then once we get out, we'll turn right and head towards the facility. So this is going to take me probably an hour, I'll be honest. It's going to take me a fair bit of time to sort out, especially if I keep running out of resources. So we've got the train line to this area, and the train station is going to be over there, but I thought it would be really nice to do a curve back onto the line. Didn't realize how big it was going to be. But I thought you might appreciate me showing you this trick for doing the curves in case you didn't see it from the previous video, which we did in the train lines, I do believe. So for this, we've grabbed our foundation and we're going to hold control whilst we're placing it over in the corner. And then I'm going to just turn it one increment into the direction that we want to go. So if we want to go to the left, we want to turn it to the left. If we want to go to the right, we need to go to the opposite corner and then twist it into the right. And from here, we press H, and then we're going to nudge it 4 across and then 4 up. I think that's 3. And then we're going to drop it down 2. And we're slowly getting there. And I don't know if I mentioned how to nudge downwards. So just in case, what you want to do when you're in nudge mode, which is when you press H, and then you can use page down or page up to go up and down now. That is new with 1.1. Anyway, I have got the rest of this to do, and it's getting late, so I will show you once it's done. Okay, so I may have gone a little bit over top with this. I mean, it's not too much work, but it did take a lot of time trying to get all those supports in place. I'm actually really happy with how this has turned out. And you can see we have the train on the track, although we haven't brought the heavy modular frames to the station yet. But I will do that next. At this point, I've brought the lines down from the train station. Obviously, they're going to the train station to this point, and we're going to run this exactly the same way as we've done for the rest of the build so far. So we'll bring it across to about here. Actually, let's try and keep it next to the line. Let's nudge that out the way to here, and then around, and then from here, ever so slightly out. There we go. So now we've got the bus all the way around to the build. We just need to grab the heavy modular frames, which are all the way over here. Run their line all the way around this, all the way down here, and then from here, what I'm going to do, I will remove this. Take our Mark 3. Okay, that's connected. And then there. And so with a little bit of luck, yeah, that is now running all the way around. And the reason that we're running all the resources along the same line, whether it's side by side in this location or stacked horizontally, is firstly, it does save space. But secondly, it keeps all of the logistics a lot cleaner. It doesn't make the build turn into a spaghetti mess, which we're trying to avoid. But anyway, with this now working, I'm going to head back and work on the other facility, and we're just going to decorate it. I think by now we can probably send off the space elevator parts. So I'm just going to make a very clean and hopefully quick design for that factory. I thought rather than jumping ahead to it being finished, I would show you the general idea that we've got. So I am going to make sure that there's an entrance where the train station is, but there's also an entrance in the lower corner by the bus. And from here, there's a walkway through so we can see everything that's being produced. I'm going to build this up. We'll have windows on two sides. I don't tend to like covering the whole builds with windows because I feel that it takes away from the style. If it's all a glass building, it looks like a greenhouse. I'd rather focus on a couple of nicer points. So this one, we have a big window with a tree outside, so it's going to look quite nice. And probably later on we'll do a video about building with nature, because I think that can be a great thing to do, but it's often very difficult. And the other spot for the window is just so that we can see the space elevator and also any adaptive control units that are making their way into the space elevator. Once I've worked out how to fill this in and add the roofing, I'll then redo the power lines as well, so hopefully it'll look quite nice. And then I'll add a little bit of lighting. Not much. I'm not going to do too much work on this, as the idea of this series is more getting through the game rather than beautifying everything. But you can see we have also covered the bus with a little glass foundation. That's just going to mean that we can have a look down and see the logistics, and then I'll open up to the bus here. The build is coming together. It is a very basic box build, essentially. The only difference is we're layering up the down corners on one side to give it this angular look, which just breaks it up a little bit more. And then we've layered the walls in front of that. And then on top, we have a little spot for windows. I'm still going to do the lighting inside, but thought I should show you some tips really quickly here. So I'm just going to place down a little platform to work from, as it'll be easier for us. And what I want to do is along this section, to tie these builds together, is take that green strip lighting and run it along these. The problem is that if we try and place these diagonally, you can see how they're only part out, which means when we're placing them, they end up going slowly out, which we don't want. We want it all to be aligned. So to do that, we're going to grab paint a beam. We're just going to run that out horizontally from the points that we're going to connect. And then from here, I'm going to place diagonally. Actually, it'll be best to go into freeform. As long as we make sure that we have the right angle between these two, so they need to be parallel to the wall. This isn't right. We need to do it from here. We should, fingers crossed, be able to grab our sign, place it on top, or actually along the side, thinking, ooh. Now, it won't let us place it there, but do not worry, I have more tips. If we now grab a small concrete wall, pillar even, we can then place it on there. I should be able to delete this now. Now that we have the right angle, we just need to nudge these in, and then we can place these all along the line. Notice how it's now parallel to the ramped wall. The only thing is, I wish we had a zooping option for signs. It would make life so much easier. And they won't do this because they know I'll just abuse it and have signs everywhere, because it's what I do in all my saves. But I'm hoping, actually, that we could maybe run this all around the whole build. There is obviously a slight issue when it comes to this section, because we're going to have a gap, but we could nudge it. That's pretty close. Yeah, let's go with that. Into place. So I'm going to now go over the whole build with that. The other thing that I wanted to do was just run a little bit of a border here. And I should also mention that what we've done with this is we've flipped these around. Because these are so deep, we can clip inside it, and from the inside, if we drop down, you won't be able to tell that they're inside. Well, you can tell that they're inside, but you can't see any Z fighting as you could there between the two different textures. So I quite like the difference with that. We have tons of lighting in here from the daytime. At night, it's pretty dark. So we are going to have to do some kind of lighting in here. We'll probably do a light around the border here. I think that might look quite well. Anyway, I'm going to work on this and then I'll show you once it's done. Good news, the outside is pretty much done. We're not going to spend too much time decorating this. I wanted to do the inside lighting. You can see it's all powered. We've actually got everything that we need to see it's backlogged to send up the space elevator. But I still want to finish doing the lighting in here. And I thought, oh, we could use the signs. But then I thought, oh, it would be really good to use the large billboards. But of course, we don't have oscillators produced. And I was like, well, maybe I can handcraft some, and then not in this list. And they should be near the quartz crystal. And I realized it's because we haven't unlocked them here. So we're going to unlock that really quickly. Wonderful. Now we have access to all of this stuff. But more importantly, we should be able to handcraft some oscillators. Okay. And then from here, we could go with a big one, or we could go with the smaller ones. And I think smaller is probably better. What we'll do, just in the center, is set up the lighting. So we're going to go with just a 2 on the emission. We'll make it glossy, and we're going to make it just like a light grey. There we go. That's given us a bit of light. And I think we'll do the same here. So what I'm going to do with this is place it on the diagonal here, and then we're going to drop it down. Ooh, is that? Oh, it is. It's a ramp. That doesn't work very well for us. Right, maybe I won't do that. So what we can do is, well, I wonder if we could place it on these. Let's have a little look, see. So I'm going to go to the freeform placement, and then because they're all parallel to the angle, we should be able to place these. And you can see how this has lit up the room a bit better. We definitely need to change the beam. In fact, what we could do with the beams is just bring them all the way across. Rotate them so they're aligned. Do the same on the bottom side. So we only want to see the very bottom section, and then we can delete these. What I'll now do is just work out the areas that we can walk around, and we'll use various patterns. So for example, here We could maybe change it so that it's a different color. Thinking about it, it's probably going to be just cleaner rather than trying to wrestle with the flooring, to just do a little border. Make sure it's the right color. We've got these. Probably add a little. I added the MAM inside there. I think that looks pretty nice. But we're going to just change the color so it's a bit darker, more in keeping with the room. And then we can add some railings around the outside. And there we go. Oh, we need to make sure that we have this also barricaded up. We now have the build complete, and I'm happy with this. It is perhaps a little bit on the lighter side, so what I might do at a later stage is just, what's the opposite of highlight? Change some of the colors to make it darker so that it's more in keeping with the dark colors we've got here. But on the whole, I'm really happy with it. The facility itself is pretty clean. Ooh, I've noted a small problem. I'm gonna have to fill that in. But apart from that, it's fine. Much better. And the great thing about this is we have a walkway through. So we can walk down to this area and we can look at the space elevator. Maybe I should add some lighting here as well. And we also have a balcony overlooking the resources, so we can see them going in. But now that we've done that, I've got 300 modular engines on me, which should be more than enough. Let's quickly drop these off and send them off. Yeah, there we go. Sweet.
Welcome to the Project Assembly Pioneer Progress presentation. Congratulations, the Phase 3 project part shipment is finally ready for delivery. On delivery, Phase 3 will be completed and the main body will be constructed. You should know how this works by now. You'll get access to tiers 7 and 8 in the hub.
Well, thank you, Ada. We're going to skip the rest of that so that we can send this off. What I've just thought about is maybe instead of doing like turbo and rocket fuel, which I was thinking of doing, maybe we should jump straight ahead to nuclear power. If that's something that you'd like to see once we've got a little bit further into the series, do let me know in the comments. But obviously the next thing that we're going to be looking at is most definitely, well, it's going to be the list of things to do, followed by maybe a little bit of aluminium production, because I would love to have the hover pack. But anyway, let us send this off. Yes. Look at that. Oh, actually, I hope that's not going to clip. Is that clipping? I think that's clipping into the build. Regardless, we can move this. The important thing is this is finally done, so we now have access to aluminium products, which opens us up to much faster logistics, and with that, bigger factories. And there we are. Wonderful! But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If so, please do hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. We are going to leave it there. Special thanks, as always, goes to all of our incredible supporters on Patreon, most notably our Lunar Eclipse Patrons, Firefless, The Calamity, Ben, Star, and Seeker Kala, as well as our Blood Moon of the Day, which today is the Totalxclipse Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.